Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Other than two errant blips, Liberate has been on the podium 6 times so far. This consistency has given him a healthy lead over his rivals, and he stands on the precipice of being able to wrap up the championship tonight. But in the tight confines of Summit Point, will he find his hopes thwarted? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 9 of the PRL GT3 Amateur Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Summit Point acts as more of a club circuit in real life, not often hosting major racing series. That and our track guide should make it clear why these cars are probably a bit overpowered for this venue. Welcome to Summit Point Raceway. Once the stomping grounds of IMSA and Trans Am vehicles thundering through the West Virginia mountains, this circuit is now mainly used for club racing and performance driver training. Situationed a couple hours west of Washington, D.C., there are actually two entirely separate circuits that can be tackled here on the iRacing service. The main circuit is just shy of 2 miles in length, including 10 turns, and can be chopped off into the short version, which has 9 turns and only 1.5 miles for a lap. The Jefferson circuit is its own 1.1 mile piece of pavement with a mere 7 turns and uniquely can be run in reverse. Both tracks are astonishingly narrow and provide quite a technical challenge. On the main course, the most popular place to pass is down into the first corner hairpin. While some drivers may try a brave dive into turn 5, the frighteningly fast-kinked entry makes it prone to things going wrong quickly. Between there and turn 9, it's essentially a single-file affair with nothing but tight and twisty bends snaking their way around. The Jefferson circuit isn't used as often, and because there are a few straights long enough to get a run on someone, most drivers are forced to wait for a mistake to pounce on. Otherwise, qualifying will be key. Believe it or not, IMSA's GT class raced here in the late 80s, and even Can-Am stopped in back in 86. While it probably sees much more competition here in the virtual world, it's easy to see why plenty of real drivers love to take their vehicles out to try and tackle this historic Appalachian venue. Well, DJ, we got to witness what it was like last night, but that was with the pros. We've got the AMs here this time.
We do indeed, Joe, and just like last night, I think we're in for a pretty good show here today, even though overtaking is going to be at a premium. The best overtaking spot is going to be going down into turn 1, and you really got to get to the inside. We saw a couple of guys try to run the outside last night. It didn't exactly work out so well for them. You can maybe get a little bit of action going into wagon wheel, but not exactly as much as we've seen before. And then that run all the way through the chute, up through the carousel, and into the S's. Well, that's a real technical portion that you've just got to get right. And if you want to set up that pass into turn 1, these guys are going to have to get right out of the S's and get that little brush braking zone going through Paddock Bend absolutely perfect.
Easier said than done. This is a tricky little track, as short as it is. Now, before we get to the racing, let's talk about our broadcast, which is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Tonight's broadcast is also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Tonight's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT3 AM series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. So as we take a look at the championship, up at the top right now, it is Race Liberante, but he has not shown up yet in practice. They just started qualifying. He's still got time to get out there. We'll see if he does, though, and he will not be able to wrap it up, obviously, if he doesn't show. Behind him, it's pretty close there between Demers, McLaughlin, Trepanier, and Almanar a little bit farther back, but really second through fourth will want to try and make as big inroads as possible. The good news is that this will be a drop week for Liberante with his no-show, so it won't be too dramatic of a loss for him. Meanwhile, we have the Teams Championship as well.
Indeed we do, Joe, and there you can see RF Delta Sport holding only a 10-point advantage over NTR Motorsports, so very close at the top, but a big jump back to third, about 130 points back for Apex Button Box. They've got a little bit of competition on their hands with SDS Racing Team, about 37 points back from them, and Parabola Racing Cobalt only 2 points back from SDS, so a relatively tight battle there further down the field.
Indeed, and if you witnessed last night's race, it's going to be the same thing, but for those who are just tuning in, it is a 40-minute event, and they have an open setup on the cars. We'll see if they can find enough speed on this tiny little circuit, since it's going to be small gains for most of them. And there's the different makes that they can have as well in this GT3 class. Now, they will get a drive-through at 13 incidents, and there's plenty of places where you can go wide at this very narrow circuit. And they'll actually get disqualified if they hit 17 incidents, so something they've got to watch out for. All the points are going to matter today for our drivers, because we've got a bonus for pole, fastest lap, and 4 incidents or less. That certainly had a part in our racing in the Pro Series. It might play a part in things for Nick McLaughlin, who's currently second out on the timing sheets, but Trepanier holds the pole position. McLaughlin is the one that really needs something good, because he needs at least 2 points today to try and have a shot at it in the final round. If he doesn't score those 2 points, then he will automatically be out of it in the finale.
Exactly. Watching here as Brett Cord comes across the line. So all drivers now putting a time down. Xanadakis, they're unable to improve. Trepanier here, I have to say, he's been on a pretty hot streak of qualifying well, so good to see him continuing that on. Charles Michel able to bump his way up to 20th there. Here's McLaughlin. Looks like this is a bit of a slow lap for Nick, but he's still got about 5 minutes to re-rack.
Espina coming across with Matt Hilton. Hilton down to a 108.3, and that'll get him onto the front row. Almanar moves to fourth as well. Espina able to get into seventh briefly before he is overtaken. Demers needs a better qualifying this time. He was mysteriously off the pace last week. Now the 256 is currently in at sixth place, as we now see Chet Miller down here in 14th. That lap 1:10.2, so he's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, nothing for him. Kwok Nin as well is going to stay in fifth place for right now. That Parabola Racing Cobalt driver, remember, they're involved in that battle for P4 in the championship. Neil Alexander able to go a little bit faster there, bump his way up to 24th. Brett Accord getting a competitive time down. That'll get him into 23rd.
Xanadakis behind him at a 108.3. Good enough for ninth place, so just cracking into the top 10. Here we go with McLaughlin once more. Has to make up 0.2 of a second to take pole away. Only 13 thousandths to get on the front row. He hits a 107.820. That is going to be good enough for the front row.
That's a good one there for McLaughlin. He'll be happy with that. There you saw Hilton unable to improve. Espina off by about 0.05 of a second, but here comes Baron Glover.
It is a bit crowded out there. We have more cars than we had last night for the pros, so they're trying to have to really work their way around some of these cars, as we've got Chet Miller once again crossing, and he still can't find a better time. Neither does Walker. Behind him, I see Charles Sumner coming up, as this is Kwok Nin. Looks like that 108.2 is going to be about a 10th off of his best.
Yeah, currently down in 18th. There comes Cervantes. Cervantes able to bump his way up to 17th, so good for him. Xanadakis having to negotiate a couple of slower cars there, and it looks like that cost him a couple of tenths, so Nico's off there. That's Drew DeWeese taking it a little bit of a contrary line, but here is Nick McLaughlin talking about that championship hunt. Is he able to go a little bit faster? No, he's off by about a 1/10 of a second.
So where are our other hunters? Hilton not able to improve that time. Almanar off track. I think Trepanier going to be our next of the leaders, as Espina goes off in style there after the start-finish line. This is Guillaume Huard and Baron Hilton then. Baron is currently last on the field, and that one not going to be an improvement. as Vincent, our pole sitter, not able to set a time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think he must have picked up a little bit of an off track there. Chet Miller and the Mercedes not able to go faster. Same with Kwok Nin and his Porsche. You know, really as opposed to last night, it's a lot of Porsches and BMWs out here today in the AM series. There goes Cervantes. Cervantes able to improve up to 11th. He is just setting some good times here.
And they've only got 2 minutes left, so maybe about 2 laps for some of the drivers, 1 for others. As this is Antonino just inside the top 10, coming out of the S's, giving a little bit of a tow to Huard this time, back there in 18th. Coming up to Paddock Bend, very fast right-hander this last corner, over 100 miles an hour. Huard goes off, so he's not going to get a lap. Antonino will. Let's see what he's got underneath him on a 1:08.293. That's good enough for 7th.
Yeah, bumps him up a couple of spots there. Here's Baron Glover. Glover unable to improve there. He'll have at least 1 more, maybe 2, to be able to go. Trepanier unable to improve on his provisional pole time. I do see McLaughlin back out there. Kalen comes across the line, and that is the exact same time that he set on that last lap. So kudos to Mark Kalen for being consistent.
Yeah, he actually looks like he was faster, but it was less than 1,000th of a second. It does mark that in iRacing, but it doesn't tell us what exactly it is beyond that third digit there behind the decimal point. As Almanar looking to try and get onto the front row as well. Won't have it that time by. He gets one last shot at it as we're under 1 minute left to go. Chet Miller is next, and he currently is in 16th. 1:10.7's going to be well off of his pace. I think up next we got Baron Glover in 8th.
Yeah, here comes Glover. You saw there Chet Miller taking a big chunk of curbing there coming through that final bend. It's going to upset the car. That's not the fastest way around there. Glover taking a little bit more of a traditional line, but not able to get him any faster. He's going to pull over and park it, it looks like. So he'll be done for this session. So we're watching a few more guys coming across the line here. Here comes Todd Lewis, one of the lonely McLarens out there. Todd unable to improve.
Trepanier and McLaughlin, neither of them able to go quicker, but here we go to the checkered flag. Is Espina going to get across? I think he barely did. Desjardins did not. The 206 doesn't improve. Cervantes does, but stays in 11th. Baron Hilton is up next, still down last on the field. A 1:11 flat will be quicker, but he'll stay in that final spot.
Yeah, so he'll stay there. There comes Chet Miller. I think that's a new paint scheme for Chet. Very stunning there on that Mercedes, which is already a pretty beautiful car. He's going to come to the line. That's going to be a slow one for Chet, so he's going to stay back in 16th.
It's a very trippy looking car. I like it. As up next is McLaughlin, who abandons his final lap. Trepanier does not. Vincent is going to continue on. He's already got the pole. Could put himself well more clear of anybody who wants to challenge him on this final go. As the 87 crosses for the last time in qualifying, it's not faster. Todd Lewis up next in 23rd, and his McLaren is not going to go quicker than his 1:09.2.
No, he's not. Here comes Jordan Walker, though, in the Porsche. Let's see if Jordan's got anything from 12th. No, he's going to be slow. I'm not seeing anything. Espina not able to go faster. And, Joe, I believe that's going to be the final runners here in qualifying.
That is the last of them that can set a time. And with the qualifying over, that means that we will not see Race Liberante, who we have gotten information is out because of an emergency, and that really throws a wrench in things for him. Also, unfortunately, don't have Brian Force here today. Hopefully he stays safe. He's having some bad weather in his area, so fingers crossed. And Brian, we're thinking of you out there, bud. Meanwhile, we have the session ticking over to the race, so let's go through that starting grid here today. Vincent Trepanier, try and see what he can do from 4th back there. He is potentially in the championship hunt, and this could be a big turnaround, but so is Nick McLaughlin, who starts next to him. Matt Hilton will be P3 as Jonathan Almanar is 4th. Kwok Nin, he'll start P5 as Demers, who has been in 2nd for much of this championship, will be in P6. He's got some work to do again. Espina starts 7th, Antonino 8th, and Baron Glover 9th. Zanadakis rounds out your top 10.
Danny Cervantes coming home in 11th with Marc-Andre Desjardins in 12th place. Mark Kaneland will start off in 13th, followed by Neil Alexander in 14th, and Rodrigo Morales and Chet Miller will line up behind them. Row 9, it's Jordan Walker and Guillaume Huard, followed by Spencer Semkowicz and Charles Sumner to round out your top 20.
Lawson Christie starts 21st, followed by Deweese in P22. Then it's Lewis and Accord with Bochelle and Hilton. The last row on the field here today of 26 cars getting ready to race. And that might not sound like a huge field, but at this track, it will be. We also have some onboards that we hope to enjoy out there, including our hopeful, one of our hopefuls, Nick McLaughlin, as we see him on screen now. And as we've gotten used to, Kwok Nin is also joining us. He's got a nice Porsche in the background, which he is actually racing in that 911 GT3R. And then finally, we have Paul Espina, who is going to be starting from 7th today in his Ferrari 488, once again showing us the foot and steering wheel cams as well as a face cam. So we'll try and check in on each of them as this race goes on and see how they're faring from inside the cockpit. We start off on the pace lap here on quite a beautiful day, I have to admit here, DJ. It's only 88 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, 88 Fahrenheit out on track, 48% humidity, a little bit of wind out of the northeast coming back and forth between about 7 or 8 miles an hour. So that track temperature right in that Goldilocks zone that we like to talk about. It'll make for really good sailing around here. But Joe, as we talked about last night, and we're lucky enough to be able to avoid, my big concern is going to be off this start going down into turn 1. We saw a lot of drivers last night struggling a little bit later in the race to get those moves done. I bet a lot of these AM drivers saw that, and I think there's going to be a pretty high level of aggression in trying to get a move down to that first turn on the first lap.
Well, in this corner, too, we saw a lot of action, not necessarily in the good way. Wagon Wheel had a number of drivers go wide and just chuck it into the barriers at high speed. So that's one I'm going to be watching out for sure.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think we'll also have to check out a little bit, as I said in that intro, watching guys and their exits out of the carousel and through the S's. With these heavier GT cars, it's not really too easy to be able to take the S's absolutely flat out. You've got to do a little bit of lifting to get it lined up right. So being able to see if somebody can take maybe an alternate line through there as they come through that section, you can see there's a little bit of camber that'll help you out. But people are going to have to be careful and try to line that up to get the run into Paddock Bend and ultimately down into turn 1. So today, the max points you can earn is 38 out there. And for Trepanier, our pole sitter, he's 49 behind Liberante. Liberante gets 8 of his drop points, which means the most that Trepanier can gain on him is going to be 30, which will put him within 9 points. Or 19 points, rather, of our leader. So he's not going to totally be able to put himself in a position to really get a good hope at it, but he could increase his chances as the green flag is out, and it is a good jump for him. McLaughlin also hoping for this, as he could be that little bit closer if he could take the victory, but he's not going to get a bonus point as we got a poke from the inside from Almanar, looking to try and overtake third from Matt Hilton. He just about has it. Hilton goes a little wide at the first corner behind them. It looks like it's clean so far, and Hilton is not going to be able to hold on to third. No, he is not. Just cycling back through the field. My dire warnings coming to naught there. Now drivers making their way through Wagon Wheel. Trepanier starting to pull a little bit of an advantage here, about 0.4 of a second. And it looks like McLaughlin and Trepanier trying to drop Almanar a little bit feisty there in the back. I think that's Espina getting very close to Demers as they come into the top of this course.
Otherwise, it's pretty much single file into yard sale now. So nobody really eager to try something on the first lap into that tricky braking zone. Out of the S's, Trepanier has half a second over McLaughlin. And look at them come over that hump and then under the bridge into Paddock Bend, looking for the good exit. And I think Hilton's got it. He is starting to charge on Almanar.
Yes, he is. Ooh, he's got a good run there. Almanar being very smart, doing exactly what I said, getting down to that defensive line in the back there. I'm seeing the same kind of thing between Demers and Espina. Oh, big out braking there for Matt Hilton. Move him up a spot. That was incredible.
Revenge is sweet for Hilton. He pulls it right back on him around the outside under braking. So Almanar back down to fourth where he began. Kwok Nin's been watching this, wondering if he will get a shot. In fact, he's starting to close a little bit as well there in the Porsche. We're going to hop on board with him.
Yeah, so here he is. There you can see a little bit of that camber that I was talking about through yard sale and up into the carousel. Love being able to see the VR view from here. You can see Kwok just seeing his way through the corner, getting a little bit of steering here and there to line that car upright. It looks a little bit like Almanar may have a bit of a better run through the S's, but that Porsche very slippery in a fast line, in a straight line. Wouldn't be surprised if he gains a little bit on the straight here.
Don't need to go to it, but Mark Kalin had a wreck through yard sale. Almanar is slow, and Kwok Nin gets a great opportunity. He gets around the outside. Is this the second spot in 2 laps? Yes, it is. Jonathan ducks back in. Now he comes back out to the side, seeing if he could outbrake him. It wasn't meant to be.
Joe, watching Almanar's braking point going down into that first corner, he is very, very early on the brakes, especially on these first 3 laps. I have to say, that is just, it's sort of, I don't want to say unintelligently, but just not where you want to be braking. That Ferrari should be able to carry a lot more speed into that corner. I wonder if he's got a massive short fuel on the car and he's lifting and coasting already.
Well, we didn't see anybody get that close last time. This isn't quite like Long Beach. I don't think where, they could potentially go for a full race distance without a stop. If he is, I mean, kudos to him if he thinks he can do that. But yeah, this is a very slow pace for that 0-2.
Yeah, and obviously that pass that was set up by Kwok Nin, it was by a bad run there through Paddock Bend. That's really what caught out Almanar. And now I'm not entirely sure what he's got going on. Matt Hilton there, free of Almanar, starting to chase down the leader, sets the fastest lap of the race.
He's got a little gap to go, though. It's about 1.2 seconds up to McLaughlin. You have to wonder if something could have happened there if he hadn't lost time trying to fight. So we see Kwok Nin just leading ahead of Almanar into Wagon Wheel. Saw some tire tracks off the course. I wonder if somebody had a problem in turn 3 a little bit earlier. We'll have to check that out later. I'm guessing Boschel, since he has gone to the back of the field. In the meantime, as we look at Almanar, has he got his feet underneath him now? Because he's starting to threaten Nin.
Yes, he is. A little bit of a fight back there in that Ferrari. Remember, Almanar, part of the SDS racing team involved in that battle for 3rd place. His teammate, Espina, 2 spots behind him. Both of them looking a little bit sluggish coming through turn 1, so I'm wondering if there's a setup thing going on with that SDS team.
Could be. Demers is back there as well. He's in the white, black, and blue, number 256. He hasn't been able to gain a spot. As looking to the inside, now he's found the brakes. There goes Almanar to the inside, tries to keep from running into the side of the Porsche. Now it becomes a drag race down to Wagon Wheel.
And this is going to shift back to Kwok Nin here, as this is a left-hander. I think Almanar's going to have to back out of it, but no, he's going to try to hang it around the outside of Wagon Wheel. Loses a lot of momentum, though. He's going to have to try to slip back into line. He does so successfully. Now he's going to have another bit of a look there coming into yard sale. Oh, late on the brakes. Kwok Nin doing a great job to keep out of his way.
I think there was the tiniest of contact between them coming into the corner. He's very lucky he didn't turn around that Porsche. And Demers is watching this whole thing inches away from it. I'm sure he wants those 2 spots, considering he needs to try and take as many points as he can in this championship. He came in 33 behind Liberante.
Indeed, Joe, and not only Demers is looking exciting on this, so is John Antonino there behind Alexis Demers. That Porsche looking very, very good. He's already been able to dispatch Paul Espina. There comes a look to the inside going down into turn 1. That is Antonino on the inside of Demers. Later onto the brakes, little bit of movement, and it looks like Antonino's going to take it.
Down to 7th now for Demers. He came into this race 33 points behind Liberante. Remember, Liberante is going to get 8 points. So no matter what, the most he'll be able to get is 25. Well, right now, he's only scoring 24 points as it sits back there in 7th place. So he's going to gain, I believe, 18.
Yeah, he'll need to move his way up forward if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive as we ride on board with Demers. Now Demers under a little bit of assault from behind there from Paul Espina as well. This is just not a good day for Alexis. Looks like he's able to get a better run, though, out of the S's and buy himself a little bit of breathing room.
To correct myself, 16 points is what he would gain on him. Meanwhile, as they come off the final corner once again, Nin, now that he's got that clear air, is making use of it and pulling away from Almanar. Demers not able to try and attack on Antonino as he was too far back, and all of them breaking in a straight line down into the hairpin once again.
Yes, they are, and that is Almanar closing a little bit on Nin. It looked like for a second that Demers had a little bit of a run on Antonino, but that has fallen back now, working their way through Wagon Wheel. I think that's Almanar kicking up a little bit of dirt, just pushing that Ferrari as hard as he can.
So, pulled out my trusty calculator real quick, and it'll be a 17-point difference as it sits right now. If Trepanier finishes here without any more bonuses. And I think, we had a wreck, Rodrigo Morales, and I think as well Huard back there at Yard Sale Corner. They're both trying to get the cars going, trying to see. I think this started with Morales.
That's a little bit what it looks like, Joe. Both cars now able to get themselves back and moving again, though.
So as we take a look at the replay, Rodrigo, I think, can lose control. Wheels into the dirt. That'll do it. And he bounces back onto the track. Poor Huard, just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, you could see there that Morales trying to hold the brakes the best that he could. That car just spinning forward. Yeah, and Huard just caught a little bit on the outside. Looks like he's able to escape with relatively minimal damage, though.
In the meantime, as that replay played, Nin made a little bit of a mistake into the first corner, and Almanar has got the spot back into 4th. Behind them, there's some battles as well between Demers and Espina as Alexis continues to struggle out there today. And look at how tight this whole group is.
Yeah, they were absolutely on top of each other. That's John Antonino right behind Kwok Nin, trying to put the pressure on, riding on board here with Paul Espina. He's going to have a front row view to everything. Looks like Demers was able to pull out a little bit of a gap, but you can see just how close they are up in front of them.
Watching all the cameras that Espina's given us. Nice and calm so far as they start to pick up speed. Antonino, don't think he's got anything. Yeah, nobody popping out down into that first corner. But let's see if somebody can get a decent exit coming down as the corner opens up, coming off the hairpin. Nothing doing, I think, for any of these 5.
No, but Nin looked like he lost a little bit of ground to Almanar, but we've seen that happen over the course of laps. It just ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows, all very continually managing to remain tight here across the board. As importantly, one thing to note is that they do have about a 4-second gap from Almanar up to the podium positions of Hilton, McLaughlin, and Trepanier, so all this fighting not doing them any good going forward.
Certainly not. We had another one. Neil Alexander, and looks like Danny Cervantes are off in the same corner. Yard sale, 2 separate incidents. Let's see which one we're going to look at first. This looks like Alexander here in the red Porsche. And we're still live here. He's actually got it going, and this is coming through the S's. Apologies, look like we won't be able to get that, but they both spun of their own accord. Now, you mentioned the top trio. Hilton's actually been a little bit quicker the last few laps. This most recent one looks like McLaughlin was a 10th faster, but the 2 prior ones, Matt Hilton had chopped it down by a few tenths.
Yeah, indeed. He's doing a really good job of keeping up here. And remember, he kind of had to fight his way up past Almanar as Almanar was able to get the jump at him at the start. getting the sense from these three that they're not pushing as hard as they can. They're just a little content right now to stay where they are, let the pit cycle play out, and see what comes from there on out.
We had a very close call for Lawson Christie about 40 to 50 seconds ago. He and Spencer Simkovich came inches apart, along with the likes of a side-by-side battle between Sumner and Walker right in front of him. This is an absolute thread-the-needle situation. This is Christie, I believe, that we want. Yeah, here we go.
Coming up behind Sumner in that very distinctive orange and green machine. Going forward here.
Watch
Whoa.
the bright green machine here. Yeah, watch that inside Porsche. It's looking for the move. And then suddenly in the braking zone, it all goes wrong. Oh! And everybody's extremely lucky that he's the only car involved in that, because he could have taken out 3 of them in one go.
He could have very, very easily taken them out, and everybody thanking their lucky stars that Spencer was able to get through that nice and easy.
Back on track, the gravel saving his bacon on that one. Past 13 minutes into this race, and there is our top 3, Trepanier, McLaughlin, and Hilton still sitting where they started, except for Hilton, who just had a spin. Can he keep it out of the ether? I think he maybe just narrowly avoided the trees, but he is losing position after position. Out of the S's, he pushed it too hard.
Well, Joe, I talked about at the beginning, you do have to have that little bit of a lift. There it is, a little bit of understeer carrying that car out. Oh, I think that is about as close as you can get without getting sent back into the pits automatically.
He was all the way up on top of the embankment. Yeah, that I have gone off into nowhere so many times doing that very thing. So Hilton, unfortunately, now falls to 10th. Almanar is liking that as he gets promoted back up to 3rd, where he was briefly on the first lap. Kwok-Nin up to 4th, and Demers gets back to where he started in 6th. And this is Almanar on screen, still being chased by a whole group of cars.
Yes, he is. And what I'm going to wonder here is if this is going to put a little bit more of a fire here to the likes of Nin and Antonino trying to catch Almanar now that that podium position is within their eye line. But it does look like Almanar has been able to pull a little bit of a gap. Oh, that's a mistake there from Kwok-Nin, and a little bit of contact from behind from John Antonino.
Oh, it sends him off course. Does a little donut and gets it back onto the pavement, but he loses about the same amount of time as Hilton did, as he's just coming up to pass him now. But here we go. Similar situation. Kwok just going to touch the grass on the entry, though. And as he catches it, Antonino can't really slow up all that much in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, that's really no fault of John Antonino there. He just had nowhere to go following that close behind. So definitely a no blame being levied there against anybody but Kwok-Nin. Now back in 10th, he's got a whole lot of work to do.
And poor Demers, he actually managed to get by Antonino because of his checkup in that situation, and then John passed him right back, so Alexis back down to 5th. He'll still gain at least once because of Kwok's off track. There you see our championship hopeful 2nd in the points, and without Liberante here trying to get as much as possible. 5th place will be 26 points for him. That's without any of the bonuses.
Yeah, indeed. And I haven't seen him make a whole lot of mistakes, so he may be in store for that 4 incident points or less bonus, but obviously won't get the pole. And with the pace I'm seeing out of him as of right now, I doubt he will get the fastest lap, but Alexis can still surprise us here later on.
Yeah, the driver that holds that right now is still Matt Hilton, even though he's back in 9th with a 1:08.1. And about 0.2 quicker than both of our leaders, as Xanadakis is going to try to get to the inside and shoves Espina off track. Paul is able to come back on without losing too much time, but I think Baron Glover, and Glover gets a taste of that same medicine and gets shoved off course. I think Espina maybe just wasn't expecting him to be there.
Yeah, I think that one wasn't necessarily deliberate on that move. We're going to jump back and check out the replay here. This is, that is Glover coming up behind. We want to focus here. There it is. That is Espina and Xanadakis. Xanadakis just making this move very, very late, but for the most part gets it wound up well.
The New Yorker, yeah, it looks good at the start, and then he just sent it in too deep. And yeah, I definitely put that one a little bit more on Nikos, as he faded out pretty hard. And then poor Baron Glover thought he had a really good opportunity that disappeared with a rude shove off to the grass. Thankfully, everybody's still rolling.
Exactly, but elbows starting to come out here as we are under 25 minutes to go in this race. We're going to jump back up to the lead. Now a two-way fight after Matt Hilton had that mistake. Vincent Trepanier still holding about a half a second gap over Nick McLaughlin. McLaughlin trying to close that in.
And 35 points for the win without the bonuses for him, which he doesn't have any at this point, except for potentially the clean race. If he finishes in second, it'll be 32 points. 3 points difference could be huge here coming in the final round. And the reason we're talking about this so much is because Liberante is only going to get those 8 points, and everybody who was at a much bigger gap has the potential to make this a serious fight in the finale, which can't be counted as a drop week. I saw Charles Bochel head into the pits briefly as these guys went by, but I don't think that's a scheduled stop. Nope, actually it is, I think.
Well, all right, we did see some drivers try to take a very, that's an off there for Chet Miller as he tries to get out of the way of your leaders. Look how close McLaughlin's got this, Joe.
Demers gets another spot, by the way. We don't need to go to it, but Antonino went off in Paddock Bend. But the challenge is on as we hop on board with Nick McLaughlin, watching one of our drivers without VR here today, and a defensive move from Trepanier. He's feeling the pressure now.
Yeah, he really is. McLaughlin doing a good job of starting to just apply a little bit of that pressure as it goes along. You see a little bit of a correction coming out of the carousel for the driver of that 62 Ferrari. Looks like Trepanier is able to get a better jump out of the S's as they make their way through here to Paddock Bend. Getting everything ready to go here. A little bit of counter steering for McLaughlin. Still able to keep that gap under a half a second.
Battle of the Canucks up here. Two Canadians both wanting the victory here in West Virginia, and half the race left to go. But this is the closest we've seen Nick for much of the race, reeling it back in and making sure that Vincent cannot take his eyes off the mirrors.
No, he can't, and we talked about this last night. We haven't talked about it a whole lot here today. That's exactly what you have to do at a place like Summit Point, is just keep that pressure at an absolute maximum and try to force that driver ahead of you into a mistake.
So down into the hairpin correction there. Coming into the corner from McLaughlin, definitely pushing hard. Doesn't want to lose too much time, but maybe he's pushing too hard. And starts to drop back to 0.6 of a second now through the S's. Those opportunities slipping through his fingers.
Yeah, I have to say, it looked like a hair of overdriving there for Nick McLaughlin. Maybe just a little bit too much of a push. Gap at just 0.5 of a second right now. So Nick trying to close that down again. I think Trepanier may have recognized a little bit of the pressure that was starting to build and starting to respond.
They come through the hairpin once again. Just did the quick math. If he can get the win here, Nick McLaughlin, even without any bonus points, would be within 6 points of Race Liberante after today. That puts him in a much better spot for the finale. So he really wants this. Between 6 points and 9 points, that is going to be an easier time to try and threaten for the championship lead. So as we come once again through the carousel, I believe we got a bit of a battle in the mid-pack. Charlie Sumner, who we've been watching a little bit, as Neil Alexander approaching.
Yes, indeed. We're going to hop on board with Neil Alexander here, trying to chase down Sumner a little bit. He was under pressure, Alexander was under a little bit of pressure from Jordan Walker a couple of laps ago, but able to extend forward and now trying to chase down that orange and green 98 of Sumner.
Don't need to go to it, but Danny Cervantes had a spin and he towed into the pits. He must be struggling with too much damage to try and continue after his earlier incident. So Sumner still here in this 13th spot, now 12th, now that Cervantes gets overtaken. Ooh, and Alexander's gonna poke his nose. He's got a good run, he's got good top end speed. Charlie's not gonna fight it. He's gonna let him through and fall back down. So move Neil Alexander one more up, started from 14th. That's a 2-position gain for him.
Yeah, he'll be happy about that. Sumner, though, I have to say also, despite losing that position, he's still up 7 positions from his starting spot of 20th. So good job for Sumner to avoid some of those catastrophes up ahead of him.
As we take a look at 5th, another driver that's gotten a lot of spots, that is Zanadakis. Started in 10th, he's in 5th position. Espina is the one behind them. It's like they're gonna get a clear bit of track as the car they were chasing, the lapped car, Spencer Simkovich, is going to duck off into the pit lane. Seen a lot of those lapped cars start to do that just so that they don't get involved in any of these lead battles.
Yeah, it's a pretty heads-up call at a very narrow track like this to be able to do it. The one problem that it will throw is that when the leaders come into the pits, it could throw a little bit of a wrench. Oh, who is that off?
That's Antonino. This is the 2nd time in a row he has done that in this corner. Well, not in a row. It's the 2nd time this race, I should say. Through Paddock Bend, the 193 just spins backwards. This time he doesn't hit the wall. The first time he did. It's been a bit of a bad day, unfortunately, for the 193, who started this in 8th and is now down in 17th. Here's the incident.
Catches the grass on the outside. That just sends him spinning right around. As you said, Joe, able to use that kitty litter, get the car slowed down, and he'll be thankful for that.
Absolutely. So we come back live, and yeah, he's got some work to do with those drivers that he's got to overtake. Back to Nikos in the 07 out of that same corner. Those two navigated it successfully. It's like Matt Hilton going to pit behind them. Espina still chasing, about half a second behind. Not quite close enough into this first corner, so we'll have to set up later.
Yes, indeed, he will. Remember, Zanadakis able to get by a little bit earlier, but it looks like the pace on that BMW is starting to fall off a little bit. Now, that is Chet Miller right ahead of them in the Mercedes. That's a lapped car, so they will have to navigate that before they are able to continue this battle, I think.
It's 2 lapped cars, actually, in a fight for position. Miller and DeWeese in front of them. And then ahead of that is Demers, who just overtook them. He still sits in the 4th place. So that's the next position they're trying to size up and chase down. And Miller's getting very close. Ooh, Miller's just had a bobble actually ahead of them. He's looking like he might want to attack DeWeese, which is going to be bad news for Nikos, as a distracted lap car is the worst thing he could ask for right now.
Yeah, indeed it is. Bad news, by the way, for fans of Charles Sumner. Charles had a little bit of an incident coming up through Wagon Wheel, just spun the car, able to get it back going, but he'll drop down to 17th.
Side by side between DeWeese and Miller in front of them. Miller's going to go around the outside. DeWeese gets held up, and so does Zanadakis. Has to try and wait for this to settle itself. Is he able to get by the 523 here? He shows his nose, implying he wants to get through. Oh, and he spins right in front of him. He checks up just in time, noses him off the course, and Espina has to slow up too. He's not going to get the chance. Brilliant stuff from Zanadakis not to let that wreck him.
Absolutely incredible. And yeah, Joe, there you see Zanadakis just trying to be patient, trying to let things come to him. There was no contact between these cars. That was off into the grass, and that's what sent that car spinning around.
And let's stay with this replay, with this onboard, because Zanadakis does get overtaken. Espina eventually gets enough of a run and takes a brave move down into yard sale corner. Here it is. It's possible to do it in here, but you really gotta surprise the other driver. Wow, he even tried to defend late too.
Oh my goodness gracious, Paul Espina just tired of waiting behind that BMW and pushing forward. Absolutely incredible.
Great stuff. So Espina gets a top 5 with that one. Brilliant driving all around from those involved in that situation. And well, look at that. they now have another friend. That's Baron Glover. That's also for position.
It is indeed, and bad news for fans of Marc-Andre Desjardins. Desjardins has suffered the same problem coming out of the S's, caught a little bit of the inside grass, has sent him spinning around. He is into the pits, but no damage on that car.
So we're getting down to it. We should see a lot more drivers start to pit. The highest who have stopped is Matt Hilton, who sits in 12th. Remember, he had a spin early after taking himself out of a podium fight. Wonder if that early spin is his hopes of maybe being able to leapfrog a few drivers instead of losing time passing them on track. Zanadakis still stuck in the middle between 5th and 7th place onto the front stretch. Nobody able to get close enough amongst each other, and none of them coming into pit this time through.
No, I'm getting the sense that for a lot of these drivers, they're going to try to go as long as possible. There you see the flashing of the lights from Paulo Espina as they come up behind Chet Miller there. Miller getting out of the racing line. That's certainly going to help out Espina a little bit. Zanadakis is going to have to try to get her moved through Wagon Wheel, but oh, he's going to back off. He's going to get checked up.
Once again, in almost the same spot that he had last time through. Now he's able to overtake. Miller saw it, was trying to let him go. Now Glover catches him at even a worse place, down into the technical portion of the circuit. He's staying behind him and doesn't look like he's quite being held up, though. He's not getting very close to the back of him.
He's really not, Joe. I'm not sure what's going on there.
A little bit of damage on the left side of Zanadakis' car. Yeah, there you can see it as he goes by. Not sure where that one came from. Oh, and Almanar pits. Almanar is in, so looks like scheduled stop for him. Will he be near Matt Hilton?
We'll
Almanar's on a long stop.
Yeah,
very long.
Is.
17 seconds compared to Hilton at 9 seconds. He will be able to get out ahead of him, although Hilton's going to have better speed, and he might actually be able to catch up to him by the time they hit the brakes. Nope, that's a little far back. However, it has come down significantly, and my timing and scoring is showing at about 3 seconds between them.
Well, the interesting thing to think about with that is with such a long stop there from Almanar, I'm kind of wondering, is Trepanier now into the pits as well? But with Almanar, I'm wondering if he overfueled the car, and if he did, that could slow him down a little bit, and so that may give Hilton a little room to catch up.
That's a good point. Not exactly what you want on a track where you need it to be nimble. Trepanier, as you mentioned, pitted. So McLaughlin stays out. Demers also stays out. Zanadakis does as well, but Espina is in. A little bit of a battle between Alexander and Almanar, but Almanar is already pitted. There you see him on screen in the Ferrari. And mercifully for him, that is Alexander pitting.
Yeah, it is, so he'll be happy about that. Paul Espina in and out with a 9.3 second stop. Let's see where that's going to put him, just ahead of Matt Hilton, but Hilton's going to try to go around the outside as they go down into the braking zone. He's got the preferred line. That's Almanar Espina trying to fight back, getting a little close, but not quite enough.
Whew, that was tight, and Hilton just narrowly got through in that pit stop sequence. So that puts Hilton back into 6th. Not quite to the heights that he was before. We're waiting on Demers and Zanadakis to take their stops as well. This is the onboard view. Watching this car down in and under braking. Hilton, or Espina rather, is looking pretty good compared to Matt.
Yes, he is, and our leader is now into the pits. Joe, Nick McLaughlin coming on in, so keeping an eye here on Vincent Trepanier. McLaughlin out and on his way. It looks like he may have the advantage. I think he's got the lead.
He was 2 seconds quicker in his pit stop. Trepanier's got a shot at it, but he's too far back under braking. Nick McLaughlin, is he saving fuel this whole time? They're going to go by the lapped car, and Trepanier's got work to do.
Yes, he does. And Joe, before they dove into the pit stops, that gap was significantly expanding for Vincent. He had about a 1.5 to a 2-second lead by the time they went into the pit cycle. So McLaughlin here is going to have to watch his mirrors if Vincent's got a little bit more outright speed.
As the pit sequence is just about over. I think Rodrigo Morales is the last one we're waiting on now. We've now got a picture of the finale for this race with 9 minutes left to go. McLaughlin ahead of Trepanier, jumping him in the pit stops. Demers up to third. I think he jumped Almanar in the pits because I want to say Jonathan was ahead of him too. So Alexis, what looked like he didn't have the pace a little bit earlier, has suddenly turned around come the end of things. He's still got to fend off Jonathan, who's within about 3/4 of a second rather behind him. Then Hilton is ahead of Espina after their pit stop. Hilton at least back to fifth, having started this race in third. Not a bad recovery, but certainly could have been so much better with the pace he showed over McLaughlin and Trepanier earlier on.
Yeah, most certainly, Joe will be kicking himself a little bit for that. As we continue to keep our eyes focused on that battle for P1, Trepanier just not looking exactly like he has it. There's a little bit of ebb and flow here through the twisty bits, but I think this is advantage Nick McLaughlin right now.
Indeed. Nick may have been just playing possum out there. And we're going to see a side-by-side battle between Nin and Glover through the wagon wheel, which is not easy. That is an off-camber corner. Nin's going to get the inside for the sweeper, but the outside for the braking into yard sale. Oh, no, and they make contact. A slide. He holds on to it, just pulls in front of Simkovic, who thankfully breaks in time. Glover getting the elbows out this time, and the 93 gets P8.
Let's go back and check out the replay on this. As you said, Joe, Nin has that preferred line. A little bit of a back off there for Glover. It's a little bit of a pinch from Nin, a little bit of an aggressive move. Call that a racing incident.
Yeah, I think Nin could have given him a little more space, although it is hard, depending on your normal racing line, to get over to the right side there. So I'm with you on that one. Glover, regardless, comes out with that 8th spot. We're going to look at Demers now. Can he keep this 3rd place? Let's see. And the points for that would be 30 for him. So we'll try and figure out those a little later when I'm not distracted trying to call this action, as Almanar certainly wants to push him down into 4th position. Don't forget, Almanar sits in 5th place, but he's 64 points behind. He needs everything to still have a mathematical shot, even though he is a distant hope for the championship. And coming out of the S's, Almanar just getting an equal exit, it looks like. 0.5 of a second behind Demers and 6 laps to go.
Yeah, not quite able to get it done there, but we have seen Almanar be very feisty in this section from turn 1, really all the way up through yard sale. So there may be some hope for that Ferrari. You know, that Ferrari is known as being a very good all-around car. Now, they've got Matt Hilton about 2 seconds or so behind them, so not a whole lot to worry about. But this is going to be on for Almanar, and I can bet you anything that Demers is going to try to defend this as much as possible, keeping his eye focused on those championship standings.
I'm absolutely certain of that. Demers with 5 top 5s so far this season. Just been the picture of consistency. He's going to defend, like you said, down into turn 5. So nothing doing for Almanar that time. And behind them is that, that is actually Matt Hilton. Is he closing in? What do the lap times look like? 108.7 for Matt. Almanar 109.1. Ooh.
There could be another entrant into this battle before everything is said and done, Joe. Almanar still not looking like he's going to be close enough. Time ticking down, 5 minutes to go as they cross the line. He's got to get a move on.
This time for Almanar, a 108.9. Matt Hilton, 109.2. Okay, didn't gain on that lap. He'll have to start hustling if he wants to get a shot at the podium. And amazingly, we've only lost, I believe, 4 cars here today. Kalen Huard, Cervantes, and Accord. Potentially Chet Miller, too. He's in the pits for some reason. Not sure if he needed a second stop here today. Continuing to hound the 256, we're going to step away for a brief moment because Trepanier is still within about 0.7 of a second of McLaughlin.
Yeah, and that's Baron Hilton that they're coming up on ahead of them, so they're going to have to worry about that. McLaughlin going to be hoping that he can catch him here on this long straightaway, and obviously behind him, Trepanier hoping that that's going to be a little bit of a roadblock.
Here's what's wild about all of this. 2nd through 4th in the championship in points or 2nd through 5th rather, are right now 1st through 4th out on the track. So everybody who's got a stake in this battle has certainly got a lot more on their mind than what's directly in front of them. Directly in front of Almanar is Demers, but will he be there for long? He's going to look to the inside into the hairpin, but he can't quite make it stick.
No, and that didn't exactly look like it was a move that Almanar was really ever committed to. I think that was just a bit of a head fake to see if he could get Alexis Demers to maybe break a little bit later. Much better run through wagon wheel, though, for Almanar. Is he going to have to try to move here through the... Oh, he's got to back out of it. Good defense there from Demers.
Yeah, trying to go too wide through that right-hand sweeper of 4 is just never going to work, I think. But still, he's trying to make Demers think. He's trying to get in his head now. Trying to just put him offline at the right time, mess up his braking zone. He's close once again. We saw this last night. Setting up the pass starts in that exit of the S's, and he's done that now.
Yeah, just a little bit of the brush break here, down to 4th gear for Paddock Bend. Tries to get the power down nice and clean. It looks like ahead of him, Demers may have gotten just a hair of a better exit. I don't think that's going to be enough for Almanar to really try to make a move unless he's very aggressive. He's going to poke to the inside, but again, that's just a little bit of a head fake.
Oh, but he did manage to get him to slide wide coming out of the hairpin. Demers has to defend now as he gets a nose in. Almanar, though, backs out of it, coming up into wagon wheel. Not a bad thing necessarily, because he's going to get a better exit once again. The car just looks all out of sorts as Alexis makes 2 mistakes back-to-back. Doesn't have the inside. Wheels on the grass. Can he stop the car in time? Almanar goes too far into the corner. Fighting back, looking for the undercut. Demers tries to come through, but it's not there. He falls to 4th, and now Hilton has been able to take advantage with all that side-by-side racing.
He has indeed. We said earlier that Hilton may be able to come into this, and now it looks like he is right involved into this battle. A great persistence there from Jonathan Almanar to be able to get his way up into the final podium position, and it looks like Demers is now going to try to fight back, but now in clean air, that Ferrari looks like it's going to try to stretch its legs. 2 laps to go as they cross the line.
McLaughlin and Trepanier separating, so this has become our main battle here for 3rd place. Demers bumped back even farther by Almanar as Hilton has really got to get himself on top of that wheel if he wants that podium. He's only got 2 laps to make 2 passes.
Yeah, and the way Demers is driving right now, that's going to be a tall order. But with the speed that we've seen out of Mount Hilton, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if he could do it. Look at Almanar starting to stretch away a little bit. He's already got that gap up to a half a second.
Not good news for Alexis. Into the carousel here, and then up towards the S's, trying to square it off a little bit more. Hilton looking to get everything he can. McLaughlin, in the meantime, takes the white flag. We are now 1 to go. He's a 2.5 seconds ahead of Trepanier. The second half of this race has been all Nick McLaughlin's.
It most certainly has. Riding on board here with Matt Hilton, though, as they cross the line for the white flag here. This is going to be one of Hilton's best opportunities to make an attack. I don't think he's got the outright speed. He's going to poke his nose to the inside. No, that's a little bit of a head fake. He saw Almanar do that to Demers. Looks like Demers doesn't run wide as he would have hoped.
I am shocked that Demers did not try and defend there. Very lucky that Matt wasn't better on the binders. Still not over, though. And as they come down into yard sale, he's getting closer. Is he that brave? Does he have anything for him? No, Demers is going to cover him, making sure that he can't get through. But we got to go to Nick McLaughlin. Who would have thought at the start of this race, the pace looked like it wasn't there, but Nick sold him a dummy, jumped him in the pits, and the 62 is going to take victory here today in West Virginia.
A very impressive drive for Nick McLaughlin. You can see the excitement on his face. Trepanier able to hold on to second there in a great battle. And then jumping back, the 0-2, this is Jonathan Almanar. It looks like Demers is also going to be able to hold on to fourth place away from Matt Hill.
Matt's got to settle for fifth. Demers, as much as we've been down on him, he's up 2 positions as Kwok Nin is going to try it, as a late defense there from Baron Glover will keep him back. Not enough of an exit from the 239. Glover takes 8th. Alexander coming way behind them to take a top 10, as I think Antonino is not quite able to overtake Christie, and that's the last battle that we've really got here for 11th.
Yeah, it is. These AM drivers putting on another good show here, much as we saw last night in the Pro Series. There you can see Sumner and Desjardins crossing the line right now. I believe that's Morales right behind them, and that is the last of your drivers on the lead lap.
That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back after this, where we will show you the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Summit Point Raceway. We just watched the penultimate round of the Precision Racing League GT3 Amateur Series. Nick McLaughlin ties himself up with Liberante on wins, 4 each, but critically, Liberante wasn't here today. Nick taking 36 points. We'll try and get the math to you on that and where they sit after all is said. But Trepanier finished second. He led for most of the race. He had the pole, but he just couldn't make it work in the pit stops as he got jumped with a slightly slower stop and then didn't have the pace at the end. Almanar, he really wanted that podium today and fought hard to take that third, as Alexis Demers looked slow at the start and then at the end was pretty feisty. He finished in fourth. Matt Hilton Unfortunately, regretting that spin early on. He definitely could have been on the podium, but wound up in 5th. Espina was P6 today, as Zanadakis was 7th, Glover was 8th, and Kwok Nin in 9th. Kwok having a lot of fun too. Neil Alexander was 10th.
In 11th, it was Lawson Christie, followed by John Antonino, with Jordan Walker in 13th and Charles Sumner in 14th. Marc-Andre Desjardins was in 15th, followed by Rodrigo Morales, the last car to finish on the lead lap. Todd Lewis, Baron Hilton, and Drew DeWeese and Spencer Semkowicz rounding out your top 20 all the lap down.
And beyond that, Brett Accord, Charles Bochelle finished 21st, Accord 22nd, and Miller 23rd. Then you get into the DNFs from there on down. But we talked to our winner here today, Nick McLaughlin. Nick, man, we thought that you didn't have anything for Vincent based on the first stint there before the pit stops. And then the pit stops happened and you were off like a shot.
Hey guys, great to hear your voice. Yeah, I was kind of sticking with Vincent through the start, trying to save fuel here and there. He was mega quick around Summit today. I had, I think, an off-track final corner, and it really cost me a couple seconds. As soon as I was out of draft, Vincent kind of ran away a bit. Good pit stop. I didn't actually think I was going to jump him. I didn't save that much fuel, but I don't know if he had a rough out lap, but we made the jump and stuck it home from there.
Great stuff. Yeah, I think he just had a slower pit stop. He was about 2 seconds slower than his stall than you were. But also, the big thing on this, without Race Liberante here today, you've gone from a 33-point gap now to 12 points behind him coming into the finale. You're still the underdog, but how do you feel knowing that you're that much closer?
Obviously, yeah, huge implications with Race not showing up. I'm not sure if he was busy tonight, couldn't make it, but I guess I'll take the point change. I would still need to win and him have a disaster of a race. It'll be tough, but I think we said it last week. Crazier things have happened, so we'll come to Charlotte and put everything we have into it and hope for the best.
If ever there's a track that could put on a crazy race too, I would have to think Charlotte Roval might be it.
It sure will.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the win. Anybody you want to give a thank you to?
Thank you guys for the host. And I got to shout out Matt Hilton. I think he was the actual dark horse this race. He was super quick. I think he actually had the fastest lap of the race as well. Definitely should have been up here with us. And TQ Engineering for backing the car, and PRL for putting this series on. Thanks, everyone.
That was our winner, Nick McLaughlin. He is right that it was Hilton who took the fastest lap, but the third step on the podium went to Jonathan Almanar, and DJ has caught up with him.
Well, Jonathan, it seemed like pretty much through that entire race, you were in the thick of it. Talk me through what you're feeling now coming out on the podium.
Hey, guys. Amazing. So I made a couple of mistakes at the beginning. I was able to jump the third driver on the first turn, but then on the last turn for the first 3-4 laps, I made mistakes. They passed me. I was running fifth, and then I start fighting back. Then on pits, my gas calculator messed up, put more gas than what I had to get on. And that put me behind, I believe was Matt or Alexis. I can't remember. But then I was back in fourth position. And from there, you guys saw it. It was a brutal fight.
It was indeed, and you answered my one question there about that long pit stop from you. But when you came out like that, was it full attack mode? Were you trying to look for every opportunity you could, or were you just trying to force a little bit of a mistake there from Alexis up ahead of you?
So he was driving really, really good. He was making a slow turn on turn on third or fourth turn. He was making he was braking too much, and I knew that was my chance to pass him. So at the end of the fifth turn, I believe, I took the opportunity. I almost got off track by doing that, but well, I pulled it off. It was quite aggressive. I apologize for the aggressive move, but I mean, I shouldn't have been on that position if my gas calculator do the right thing.
Well, next week we head from, a sort of a tiny club circuit to a big super speedway with some twisty bits in the middle of it. Charlotte Roval to end the season. How do you think that's going to go?
Oh man, so the Ferraris have a quite a disadvantage against the Porsche and the BMW. So, and that track is at least half of the track is an oval. I don't think we're gonna survive there. We're gonna have to save gas, see how we pull it off. Me and Paul, my teammate, but I don't see much luck for us there.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, nevertheless. Jonathan, anybody you'd like to thank for today?
Sure. So my teammate Paul, that guy was racing hard as well. He got 6th position, but he kept everyone behind me. Real, try not to pull a move on me. And my team, SDS Team Racing, great support. They're watching the races. They follow you guys. And thank you guys for making such a great experience watching this race.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. And now Joe Peak has caught up with Kwok Nin, your 9th place finisher here today.
Absolutely. But Nin, you were kind of up in that battle up at the front until you made a tiny little mistake. It looked like you weren't the only one to lose it in the S's, though. What is it about that section that proved so tough?
If you don't get that perfect line going into that S, especially with the Porsche, since the engine's in the back, you could really lose it. Like, you really have to focus in and make sure you're not over gassing it or over braking it, or else you can just lose it right there on that last S to the right.
How do these cars feel at this track? We came into this week with both the pros and you guys in the AM series thinking, oh, this is going to be a mess. It's a tiny little track. It's narrow. It's tough. And yet both races wound up being excellent.
Oh yeah, it's actually a really tough track to pass. It's easy to defend and a lot hard to pass. Like, even though it's like a super tight track, it's a really fun track to drive in the GT3s. So, like, with me, I did a lot of practice with it. I kind of knew where to practice overtaking. It's especially during and before and after the turn-ins. It's quite hard to pass on the straights. But you really have to focus on the line and how to take that line to overtake.
Well, next week we go to a much bigger track and certainly with a lot higher top speeds off to Charlotte Roval. Are you looking forward to that one?
To be honest, not really. It's not my favorite track to drive on, especially going up that right turn into the S to the left, or I'm sorry, the carousel. Like, I lose it there almost every time, so I have a lot of practice to do on that track.
Yeah, it can have its own difficulties for sure, but congratulations, at least on a top 10 at the least. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while we got you?
Yes, I want to thank you guys, my girlfriend, and my team.
That was Kwok Nin, who finished 9th here today at Summit Point and wraps up our interviews. So we want to give a thank you ourselves to the sponsors of this series, which includes ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. As well as SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen. And additional thanks to June LeBlanc, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more awesome work. And thanks to the team today, DJ Sean and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media, which we've listed here. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC, and we keep a link in the description below for that. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because as we mentioned, in a week's time, we're going to Charlotte on August 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. And up next, we've got the Flying Huskies. That'll be at Le Mans at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.